Welcome back to LaidOPEN Podcast. You can now register for my highly anticipated hybrid online course, Pathways to Peace: Mindful Practices for Transformative and Vibrant Living. Through daily videos and weekly coaching calls, I will teach you how to understand your nervous system and its reactions, how to think more clearly and gain perspective, how to translate the ways your body communicates through physical sensations, how to identify emotions, where they come from and what they're telling you, how to discover why you react in ways that produce shame and learn tools to manage these reactions, how to reduce your anxiety and destructive impulses, and how to diminish self-hatred when you are not your best self. The course starts July 29th. If you want to learn more before then, and I hope you do, you can go to my courses page, which is courses.charnacassell. That's CharnaCassell.com for more information. So I'm excited for today's guest. Amy MacLain and Molly Kittle are collaborating, and Amy is one of my best friends. And I have gotten to see the progress and evolution of this piece of work that they're birthing into the world. And it's been a really special experience. And I just really want to acknowledge the support that Amy has provided me with the birth of this podcast. If you go back to the very beginning, the original intention for this podcast, there were going to be all these little clips and sound bites of me with my bestie, which it didn't go in that direction. And you can get a dose, like a deep flavor for Amy and her heart and her mind in those earlier episodes. And she's also played a key role in the birth of my course that's going to be coming out. And so beyond being a musician, she's also an educator around social emotional learning. And she meets up with Molly Kittle, who is an incredible theater performer, coach, and creator. Let's get in and welcome Molly and Amy and find out how they met each other and how this show came to be. Welcome.
Learn how to live embodied. Your life is about to unwind. Uncover new tools and start healing. The trauma and tension behind. Isn't it great laid open? Let all your desires come true. How can you live laid open? Imagine yourself brand new. Imagine yourself brand new.
Thanks, Charna. We're so excited to be here.
Molly, can you share a little for our audience? Because, if people have been listening to the podcast, they know more about Amy. And can you share a little bit about how you came to do the work that you do and how you met up with Amy?
Absolutely. So I have a degree in experimental theater, and my pendulum swung in my 20s to business. And so I ended up running strategy for a software company for about a dozen years. And then my body started telling me that I was off track. And so I started having all of these physical reminders that I was more than my neck up businessman version of myself. And so I started exploring, and I started going back to some of the roots. And it was an unbinding process from thinking that my work and my worth were inextricably linked. And I found my way back to my voice as a really big piece of how to unbind from that cultural myth that we are disembodied. So I started going back to my body, back to my voice, and I started hosting Connect with Story, which is an opportunity for people to come together and use that authentic, vulnerable voice to share their story. And then I started working in women's circles, and it's in one of these women's circles that, sitting around a circle, I was across from Amy MacLain, and we were singing songs together, and the sparks started flying, and maybe I'll hand it over to Amy to tell the rest of that origin story.
We were at a friend's play shop, and what lit me up was we were passing a potato and singing a song about whatever we wanted to make up about challenges we might have been having. And Molly made up the most wonderful and ridiculous set of lyrics. And immediately I was like, who's that? And then she tossed the potato. And after that song was over, we met and just told each other what we were up to. And in the course of that conversation, we realized that we have a very similar sparkle energy for life. And that also we coach in some very similar ways. Some of the ways, Charna, that I helped you with this podcast, for those of you who don't know or haven't seen, there were just Post-it notes everywhere on all the walls as we were pulling out what Charna does and trying to synthesize that. And that's how Molly works. I'm like, somebody's going to give Post-its for me. And we started to work through something that I've been wanting for a long time, which is creating a story with my songs, such that these songs that have been so healing for me could help other people. And as we started to think about how that could happen, Molly asked me some really critical questions about what I really do here in the world. Like, what's my essence? Who am I? What am I doing here? And what I discovered in that session and what I clarified in that session was that I really help people find their purpose, clarify their purpose, and then stay on their path when it gets hard. And my struggles with depression have really helped me to help other people do that. And she was like, well, that sounds like the yellow brick road. I'm like, there's potholes on the path. You have to stay on the path. And she goes, that sounds like the yellow brick road. And then this incredible musical that we started to work on together was born.
You've described it as a transformational musical, and it's called After the Rainbow. And it feels like the word transformational can relate to so many pieces, right? There's the transformation you perhaps went through as you created it. There's the transformation that you're pointing to for the audience to go through. And I'm curious what you mean when you say that.
What transformation means for me is the capacity to evolve and grow and heal from your trauma. And my particular brand of trauma is domestic violence. I experienced that as a child, and the patterns that created in me of hypervigilance and immobility. And my transformational journey has been a seeking of ways to overcome the depression that came along with my coping mechanisms for that violence. And not just the coping mechanisms, but I'm also transforming my mind, my heart, my body, my spirit, so that I can be an expression of what I'm committed to in the world. It's not just like, can I heal from the trauma, but it's like, can I see what I'm here to bring? And then can I open enough to have the courage and the capacity to bring it?
Yeah. Like napping along over here. Yeah. And everything Amy said, yes, yes, yes. And we'll talk more about how that manifests in the show itself. I touch on this fallacy or this myth that things aren't changing. There's so much of, again, our culture and ourselves that wants to hold on to what is and what wants to solidify comfort so that you feel stable and we can feel rooted and we can feel grounded, and those things are important. But everything is always changing, whether we want it to or not. And so there's a piece of transformation that is capacity, but it's also the willingness to see that you're already on the path, whether you want to be or not. You're already in motion and you're already changing, you're already in flux, and you're already in the cyclone of whatever's happening to you. And so transformation in this play is very much acknowledging and accepting, and then being sovereign in your capacity to claim your own power in the midst of that vortex or that tornado or that cyclone, as the case may be, so that you're owning your experience and your journey of change rather than letting it happen to you. It's happening for you and with you, and you have volition.
Absolutely. Yeah. The experience of, whether it's Dorothy or whether it's Amy, the support that's shown up at different times, and being able to even see when the support is there, recognize it as support, because if you are in your trauma vortex, you can't perceive support as support, right? It's hard to
Mhm.
receive things. And to this piece of being able to be receptive, to be present enough, right, to recognize the support as it shows up, but also to, like to stay on the path, right? That's a big theme. It's like, how do you not get distracted? How do you not fall into old habits? How do you keep going and trust yourself?
Yeah. And I think for me, one of the seminal support structures I have are these songs that come through me. And I'll just say to introduce sort of when I say these songs that comes through me, what that means is, I'm not a traditional songwriter. When songs come to me, I'm usually in a transformational experience. So I have worked with plant medicines, specifically ayahuasca, for 7 years. I've had a deep, deep practice with it inside a circle, a container, a women's gathering that has an altar that was handed to my teacher from Indigenous people in both South and North America. And through that altar and through those teachings, somehow a channel opened up in me and I started receiving whole songs. And I saw be in a transformational experience. I'll be in a ceremony or in a circle or in a gathering, and something will inspire me and the whole song will just start to come out, and I'll grab my phone and I'll run outside and record the whole song. And if the whole song doesn't come through, I usually let it go. I usually don't come back to it because so many messages are coming through all the time. So I somehow was able to open up, and I think that the support of the medicine was critical here, but I was able to open up and start receiving messages. And those songs have been so helpful for me on my own journey, because when I'm feeling down, a song will come into my head and then I can bring myself to remember to listen to it. I'll go listen to it, and it usually has the thing I need right inside of it. So like, do I need to remember that I have these tools? Do I need to slow down and settle my body down? Do I need to let go and trust something better is coming? Do I need to stand up and do something? Do I need to go a little crazy?
One of the things I want listeners to know is that when you turn 50, you released a song a week. You released 50 songs. And these were all songs that came to you in full form. And I mean, I'm feeling emotional. They're just really beautiful. They really, really are. I feel like they're universal messages. I never get tired of seeing you perform them, because you're not really performing them, you're transmitting them. They're really positive messages, they're mantras. And so I'm really excited that, they're coming to form in a new way, and they're getting delivered not just to my backyard garden concerts or someplace in the East Bay, but you're bringing these overseas, right? You already dabbled a little last year and toured around, and now you've created this show with Molly, and you're going to Edinburgh, the Fringe Festival.
Super exciting. Yeah, this is Amy, because the last couple of years you've gone, and she came back and she was like, I don't care if it's late in the game, we are going this year and we are bringing the show. And that is, I was skeptical that we could pull it off. But we have dedicated ourselves. We've put aside other projects and commitments, and you doubled down on this. We're self-producing it, which is really, to me, just going to the Fringe Festival is an expression of one of the main themes in the show, which is women of a certain age, middle age, tend to be asked to step back. We start to become less visible. And what Amy and I wanted to do with this show was, number one, co-create it so that we can model what it's like for two women not to be against each other, but be with and for and lifting each other up in co-creation. And then also to be super clear that we are stepping into center stage. We are not moving. We are not fading away. And that level of commitment to be on our path and to illuminate and shine our light is another core message from the self. And it's what the world needs right now is women who have our experience and who have our heart and our capacity for creation, with solving problems and multitasking and all the other, to lead us, because the world needs help. Can't keep doing things the way we've been doing things. And us, women of middle age, stepping forward, taking the lessons we've learned, and helping to make the change that we need is critical. And I know Amy has a million things to say on that topic.
Yeah. But this piece of like, it's this global and bigger theme as we transition into the age of Aquarius, right? It's like all about female led and collaboration, and you are embodying that in this really profound way. I mean, it's really incredible. And I didn't get to say this earlier and want to just name, I love that moment of sparkle and playfulness that you recognized one another in the group. Like I'm picturing you throwing a hot potato and just seeing each other going like, ooh, I want to play with you. And how often that occurs, but then you don't run with it. You know, there's so many times we just resonate with someone and then life happens and we're too busy and it falls to the wayside, and that this has just really taken root and is beautiful. So Amy, what else?
Around play, this is one of the things that's so inspiring to me about this relationship with Molly is that I get so serious about transformation because I have worked in trauma healing and social justice my entire life. And these are very serious fields, trauma healing and social justice. And I hold a lot of space. I'm a large woman. I hold large space for a lot of people. And I do trainings around gender partnership and anti-oppression, anti-racism, and how do I, as a large white woman, really contain myself and hold space so other people can show up. And Molly is like a firecracker of play and lightness and space holding and depth also, but there's a really kinesthetic, playful engagement over there that helps me so much to lighten up and be my own sparky essence, you know?
Oh, I love that. And I this is actually a segue. I was hoping I get a chance to mention this, Sarna. I was listening to the Mark Wall episode, Making Trauma Funny. And I just was swooning because, yes, Mark, yes. And this multimodality, multi-perspective holding. Why are you writing a play, a musical? Like, I'm a musical theater person. Man, like what? But the reason we're doing this way is that we need to, and like in music, these songs are getting inside the subconscious and working their magic in ways that you can't access through the rational mind. And so art is here, open hearts and minds, to change hearts and minds and to move the culture. And so I really feel that the more playful, the more I can move the word play and frivolity away from each other and really illuminate how important play is, psychological safety and play, in order to learn and grow and expand and all the things we need. So yay play, go play, Mark Wall, call me. Okay.
No, so it's so perfect because absolutely. I mean, art is transformational. When I was in my 20s, I did a one-woman show about healing from sexual trauma somatically, but it was also about working in good vibrations and the boundary crossings that happen there. And it was really funny, as is your show. Your show is really funny. And so I want, even though it's about like, there's an undercurrent of, about healing from depression, or how do you trust yourself? How do you trust your purpose? How do you stay on track? There's a lot of humor in it. And I'm curious though, like, how do you think it's going to translate? Like, what's your hope about how it'll be received in Edinburgh, like cultural difference wise, how it's received here versus what you imagine there?
We've thought a lot about
Yeah.
this, and I've actually asked a lot of my friends overseas if they've seen The Wizard of Oz. Do they know The Wizard of Oz? Is it going to land for them? And I think what I've received from my friends is that everybody knows The Wizard of Oz. Most people know The Wizard of Oz, and that the tropes from The Wizard of Oz are being so much more widely used right now as an example of how we can get stuck in our minds and we need a better brain. We can get stuck with walls over our hearts and we need to open our hearts. And we can get defensive and protective and we need to open into courage to share things. So there's this very sort of deep landscape that the Wizard of Oz created that lots of people are tilling that soil right now and using it to talk about transformation. I think our audience is going to really get it and love it. We just had 100 people in a room, the very first 100 people to ever see the show, of which you were a part, Charna. People laughed, people cried, people really got it. And that was really heartening. I do want to say two things to not forget about performing the songs and performing in concerts. My teacher really reframed that for me at one point, and we got clear that the songs are their prayers. And so instead of performing, I'm literally praying with people when I sing these songs. And we are coming out of a time where entertainment has been used to put people to sleep or to leave people in the status quo. And we're entering a time where entertainment is becoming something that is helping people to awaken or to stand behind their beliefs. I mean, huge stars, Lizzo, right, is making a huge stand for the things she believes in through her music. If you listen to hip hop deeply sources itself by making a stand for what Black artists are trying to communicate to the world and what they stand for, what they believe in, what they see. And this form of entertainment is also here to be a prayer, to bring people into alignment when they see it, to open something for them. So that was one thing I wanted to say. And the other thing I wanted to say is Scotland is the land of my ancestors. And so to go to Edinburgh and open this, not a musical, not a concert, not a workshop, but amalgamation of those three things in the land of my ancestors, after having opened myself enough to this land, to North America and these indigenous practices here, is a profound gift.
It's so sweet, Amy. I also really appreciated, Molly, what you were saying, because I've had that experience of waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and having Amy's songs, like having a song of hers playing in my mind. And it's such a beautiful thing because as we're sleeping, we have this subconscious, these tapes, our material, our subconscious thoughts, they're just playing and running. So if we can replace them with something positive, right, which most of the songs really are, it's a real gift. So I'm so glad you're getting to do that. That adds a whole layer of depth, right, to be doing that in the land of your ancestors.
And some of my favorite artists, like some of my favorite voices that I like to listen to, I can't listen to that long because the songs become painful. And to run a painful song in my head brings up a set of painful feelings in my body, which then leads me back down the road of depression, the trauma, because my body was conditioned into that negativity for so long. And over the last 7 years, which is the story that we tell in the musical, is over the last 7 years, the huge changes that have happened for me as I have learned to practice joy, practice love, practice the things I'm actually committed to instead of the things I'm conditioned into. And it's changed my whole life to sing in ways that bring other feelings into my body, elevated feelings like joy, gratitude, love, determination. So when I sing, I'm singing these things as prayers, and I'm also reminding myself, and I'm also calling up a feeling of gratitude or inspiration or elevation. And that is critical to my healing.
Mm.
And so I want songs that run in my head and run in other people's heads to be those declarations and to bring up those kinds of feelings, because it's subconsciously training us into a new way of being.
You know, what's so exciting to me is that you're going to do this 20 times, which means what you just described, like, I mean, it's already your material. You've recorded it. You've rehearsed it. But the fact that you're going to run through these songs 20 days in a row, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see who you both come back as.
We'll be either enlightened or dead.
Are those the only two choices? What do you think, Mom?
No.
I think there are so many choices. That's one of the things that I spoke a little bit about earlier, but to the embodiment piece, these songs as prayers, also super accessible. Like they're not prayers as we think of prayers. They're prayers that are like, they're earworms, you know? And I put 10 different characters in this show. Just want to call that out, because that for me feels like, if you like musicals or whatever this thing is, if you like a lady and a guitar, if you don't, it doesn't matter. Come see me being 10 different embodied. I think in terms of coming back and what is going to happen, we are changed already after that one show on Sunday that you saw, Karna. I can't even imagine the capacity. I was telling this to someone today. There have been times in my life that I'm wondering if your listeners can will resonate with this, where something really big happens and your nervous system is like, oh my God, and then you're exhausted and you're like burnt out. So this exercise of doing this show 20 days in a row in Scotland is the exercise of finding a place where our nervous system and our bigness can hold each other. And it's like the practice of embodying, the practice of being with, the practice of stretching, but only so far as we can healthfully maintain it. I think that's one of the things that's different about this project for me than my other endeavors, is I would always push myself to the breaking point. Push, pull all-nighters. We're not doing that. We're unfolding the way by walking it, in creating the show, rehearsing the show, memorizing line. Everything is about, where is my nervous system safe, and how can I stretch in a supported and grounded way, knowing that I am held. I have such trust in timing that I have never been able to embody until this point. Some things have gone crazy and wrong, and I'm still trusting that they are going to be resolved. I mean, it's wild. The name, I don't know if you, I get a little frenetic, but I don't know if you have like one takeaway from all the things that I said that you want to leave folks with.
Well, I wanted to, it touches a little bit on the magic and synchronicity that I've heard from you, Amy. Like there's just been these repeated moments, and if you can't surrender into that trust, yes, your nervous system rides a roller coaster. And so I just want to acknowledge what I heard you say, Molly, which is, it's a practice in sustainability. And that's part of the wisdom of being a middle-aged woman. Thank you very much. Like, you know, approaching being with yourself and material and a project in a new way, and not compromising, or not being like, your urgency is my urgency. Like, how do I remember and ground and find that regulated space that I have learned to access?
Yeah, there are things here about trauma. There are things here about mysticism and miracles. And I think the way those things combine is, when I step away from trauma, I start to believe in miracles. And once I believe in miracles, then I'm open to seeing what might be something I wouldn't have believed in before. So now I'm believing things that I wouldn't have believed in before, and things are then miraculously showing up. And I pay more attention to those things because I'm no longer forcing my attention toward my survival. I trust my survival is taken care of. I'm trusting more in the divine. I'm trusting more in timing. I'm trusting more in all those things, which then literally opens my reticular activating system, the way I see the world, and helps me to look for more mystical things.
Right. Energy follows intention and attention. And, you can kind of see things in your field when you open to them and when you're looking for them.
And miracles have shown up. I mean, literally around every corner. It was like we wanted to do a show in Oakland, and things show up randomly. Molly went to an NYU event for alumni, met someone who was like, we'll give you this space. We have met exactly the right people for social media, or our videographer we met at a street fair. He just happened to be at the place right next to us. Like all these little divine things have unfolded, including yesterday. I was sitting in my car listening to this book, Finding Dorothy by Elizabeth Letts. And it is a historical fiction about the Wizard of Oz that came out in 2019. And at the very end, spoiler alert, at the very end of the book, it's not really a spoiler alert because if you haven't read the book and you haven't seen the show, then you won't know what I'm talking about. But at the end of the book, Maud Baum, so the author of The Wizard of Oz is L. Frank Baum, and his wife Maud Baum says to Judy Garland, who's playing Dorothy in the 1939 version of The Wizard of Oz, Maud says to Judy basically the exact line that Molly, as the Good Witch, says to Dottie, me as Dottie, at the end of our play. I'm not kidding. It's exactly the same words. Yesterday, I was finishing that book and listening to it. We finished the play on Sunday, 3 days ago. And yesterday, I was listening to the book and I heard the exact same words that we came up with in our play echoed in this book. I mean, I started bawling.
So you're going to the Fringe Festival, and what are the actual dates so that if there are people like my mom synchronistically is going to be traveling, and hopefully we'll get to see one of your last shows. She'll be in the British Isles and going through Scotland on the 23rd of August. So let us know, what are the dates? How can people find you? And I would love if you'd play a song for us before you go.
So it is at 12:05 every day from the 3rd of August to the 24th. We have like one day off in there. I think it's around the 10th, but you can go to actortherainbow.net. That's actortherainbow.net. And you can find out all the things, all the links, all the songs, all the clips, play around on that site. I built it and I'm proud of it. Amy, you talk about the song.
Okay, so the song we're going to do for you is called You Are the Light. It is the last song in the show. The song is really about how often we see other people and we think they're so shiny and they're so impressive and they're so amazing. And we see how light they are, and we don't realize that other people are light because they're lit up by us. Our light is lighting them up. And when we shine our light on other people, they look bright, but we're the source of light. And the idea of the whole show is like each of us is a light that's going to light up the person next to us, and that what we need in the world right now are people who are lit up, because we need to combat so much in this world that it could be so disheartening and discouraging. And we need people, lights, fire, to think creatively about how to solve the problems of the world right now. So that's what the show is all about. And we're going to sing the song, You Are the Light. I wanted to share one other thing, which is this. We have been passing out these cards. They are business cards, right? But they're actually like little tarot cards. And what we'll do is we'll turn them over and we'll have people choose their card. And there are 9 different songs from the show. And people will choose a card. And I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, it directly relates to their circumstances right now. I've had people pick a card and burst out crying. Like, this was just the message I needed. This is just the thing I needed to hear. That's the medicine of the song.
I love that so much.
Sometimes the light can't see it's a light because it's a light, and all it can see are the faces of the people who surround it, and not the light inside that shines so bright. Oh, can't you see everything you bring to me? All the love you pour out, even when you can't seem to love yourself. Don't you feel how your support lifts us up? Don't you know how we grow when you're shining on our souls? You need a mirror so you can see a little clearer. You're the light, and you shine. Your love is so bright, it makes all the rest of us shine. You are the light, and you light up the world. I know sometimes you feel like you are not enough, like you are not the one, like you didn't get it done. And sometimes I take all the glory, as if my story would have come through without you. You need a mirror so you can see a little clearer. You're the light, and you shine. Your love is so bright, it makes all the rest of us shine. You are the light, and you light up the world. Oh, but when the sun sees the flowers, she wants to feel that heat on her skin. She wants to be down there in that field. She doesn't know where she ends and where you begin. She gets lost. She can't see her part. She can't see what she gives. She can't see who she is. She needs a mirror so she can see a little clearer. You're the light, and you shine. Your love is so bright, it makes all the rest of us shine. You're the light, you're the light, you're the light, you're the light. Thank you for shining, for standing by me. Thank you for holding me when I come crying. Thank you for being the light that you are, the light from afar, the sun to my star. Yeah, you're the light, you're the light, you're the light, and you light up the world. You light up the world. You light up the world.
I love that song. Thank you so much. It feels so true, right? And the more that we each remember that we are the light, then there's so much less fear, right? And so many so much of the suffering that's happening in the world is fear-based.
Yeah. And I think that song literally came to me because a good friend of mine talked to me a few years ago. I was feeling really unseen about the work I had been doing at my job. And he told me this thing that his grandmother had told me. That sometimes a light can't see it's a light because it's light. So all it can see is the light it shines on others. It can't necessarily see the light it is. And so my hope for everyone is that they come to the show and they feel inspired and they see themselves in the characters and they see themselves continuing on their own path, shining their light.
Feeling
Just like
safe.
you're doing, my friend. It's like, how
Yes.
much inspiration are people getting from hearing your podcast and being able to unfold their own challenges through your voice and the people you bring on?
Hopefully, right? And I really want to I like bringing a range of people so that different people get heard, right? Like people are going to see themselves in really different guests. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Molly. It's good to get to know you better. Yeah.
Thank you. I so appreciate it. And yes, it is. I'm telling you, you're onto something. I will keep listening as well.
Thank you for joining us. If you appreciated this episode, please like, rate, review, and share it with your friends. I'd really appreciate that. And if you'd like to stay connected, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at LaidOPEN Podcast. That's LaidOPEN Podcast, all one word. As well as if you go to charnacassell.com, you can join my newsletter where you can get information about upcoming courses, as well as discounts and resources that I share in my newsletter. And if you go to passionatelife.org, you can get more information about my private practice and the kind of work that I do. This has been LaidOPEN Podcast with your host, Charna Cassell. We all have different capacities, but I believe in our capacity to grow and change together. Until next time.